All right. So I'm going to call the Katuitt Fire District May 4th, 2020 meeting to order. I'm going to do the roll call. Ray
Perone, Treasurer.
Silvio.
Lisa Kelly, Prudential.
Silvio Janal, Prudential.
Charlie.
Charlie Eager, Clerk.
Fran Parks, Prudential. Could we have the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag of the United States of America
And to
The
and
Republic,
Republic
for which it
for
stands,
which it stands,
one nation,
one nation,
under God,
under God, indivisible, with liberty
liberty
and
and
justice for all.
and justice for all.
Thank you. Is there any public comment?
Yes, hi, this is Jim Danhauser from 49 Putnam Avenue. I have two comments. Both of them relate to budgets. I think it will be helpful to villagers if when the budgets are presented for the water department in particular, we show what the revenues of the department are expected to be at the same places we show their expenses, because they're supposed to now be a self-funding part of the fire district. And it would be helpful to show that when people are getting ready to look at the budgets. And if there is any anticipated profit, then the question would be, is there a dedicated fund into which those excess funds would be deposited, or do they become part of the general district money? And I think that's something that people will want to be able to talk about. My second comment really just relates to the overall economic situation. I think it's incumbent upon everyone to recognize that there is a tremendous amount of economic dislocation that is fundamentally affecting the states. We're seeing every town on Cape Cod make significant changes to their budgets and to the warrants that they are proposing. And I do think that it's very important, where possible, if the fire district undertakes that same kind of hard look at what is absolutely necessary to expend, what's nice to expend, and what maybe we can defer for a year as the economic situation clarifies itself. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Hi, Fran. This is Cynthia Gardner. I have a question for you. During the community leaders meeting this evening, you spoke to the district receiving governmental funding for ambulance billing for residents with hardship.
Yes.
Can you please explain the guidelines that came with that funding and how the district plans on using the funds?
I'm going to have Ray answer that question, because the guideline was if somebody can't afford to pay for their ambulance funding, that they're not going to be charged over and above whatever their insurance will pay for, and the money was to cover that.
And I spoke with our billing company, and they confirmed by email that they would conform with those rules.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Lisa, do you have something to say?
Yeah, what happens to the excess? How long do we have those funds available? And what happens to the excess funds if they're earmarked specifically for those bills?
It's really not an exercise of applying the revenue to specific bills. It is simply a commitment on the part of the district, and therefore our billing company, to not bill anyone in excess of what is normal for COVID-19. Beyond that, there does not appear to be any restriction on our use of those funds. It is simply a commitment. Make that commitment and you can use those funds. Obviously, we'll try to identify those incremental costs that we're incurring because of COVID, and Paul is the chief is doing a job in identifying those.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. This is Carol Zase, 86 Putnam Avenue. On the community leaders meeting at 9 o'clock, there was a question about absentee ballots, and I just want to let you know that there always have been through the water department and Jen. So that's, if Charlie wants to concur with that, that would be great.
Okay. Basically, I talked with the Secretary of State. During that time, they told me that it would be illegal for us to use absentee ballots. We are a election within a meeting.
Great.
It's the term they used.
But we used them, at least I'm aware of, 3 years ago.
Right, they were used in the past, but when questioning, about moving the election when the cities and towns got their permission. They also told me that we do not fall under the election laws, and therefore the absentee ballots are not legal.
Historically, water districts and would have an election just before the start of the annual meeting. So that's when the election occurred. It wasn't a day before. It was, the people that were elected by the folks that came to the annual meeting. That's correct, isn't it, Charlie?
Yes.
So are you saying there's going to be no absentee balloting?
That is correct.
Even though our bylaws require it?
The bylaws may require it, but the state law says it's illegal.
Is it just illegal this year, or all the years in the past it's been illegal?
Well, I know Barnstable isn't having absentee ballots either. I can't speak for it.
I can't speak. We're not interested in Barnstable. I'm interested in Katuitt.
Well, Katuitt, I'm not going to do it because I've been informed it's illegal to do.
Okay, thanks, Charlie.
Fran, can I ask another question, please?
Make it brief, please.
Yeah, I was just wondering, since the expenditure reports are draft versions, would it be able to get the April's report posted to the website in a timely manner?
It will be completed and put on the website, when the time comes. The treasurer's office is not, in their routine office. They're working from home, and that makes things more difficult. And they're not able to sit and, the treasurer and the assistant treasurer aren't able to sit and discuss things face to face. So some of these things are just going to take more time. So any other public comment?
I just want to be sure everyone understands. We've recessed the May 27th meeting, annual meeting. It's going to be continued on June 24th with the election on June 23rd. That's been officially in place.
Thank you. Okay. All right, I'm going to close public comment. Treasurer, do you have a report?
Well, I've turned in the March report. Obviously, April, we don't even have the bank statements from the banks yet. I would anticipate that we'll start closing that up in probably in the next 10 days. I would like to go back and just to Jim's comment, and this is more for clarification. Jim said that he wanted to see the revenue against the expenditure for the water department, and if there was any surplus, was it going to be put into a fund? I think that the wish of the taxpayers, as I understood it, was that the water department rate increase would be used to offset tax increases. And if we were to put it into a special fund, those would not be available to reduce taxes. The budget that we are looking at now, they do play a part in reducing the taxes substantially. So I don't think, in my mind, taxpayers can do what they wish, that you would want to take any surplus or deficit into a special fund rather than keep it in the general fund and enable it to offset tax rate increases.
Okay. Any other,
Other than that, it's really any changes to the budget. One thing, the warrants that I sent out to the Prudential Committee, I think that I may have gotten a little bit ahead of the fire commissioners. They still want to review Article 6 to determine if they're going to purchase a vehicle or two vehicles, and also the element of donation is going to be reviewed by the fire commissioners at their next meeting.
donation of the used vehicle?
By used vehicle, you mean the existing chief's vehicle, what they were going to do with that? Yeah, they're going to be considering whether they're going to donate that to another fire district or a nonprofit.
Okay, great. That's it.
That's it for the treasurer.
Thank you. So I just want to give a brief report about Freedom Hall. And I went to the hall and set out some chairs and placed the chairs 6 feet apart, if we're still going to be doing that in June. And so placing the chairs 6 feet apart, the exclusive of the members of the elected officials or anybody, or the moderator, the clerk, or our attorney at the meeting, that would allow for us to have approximately 20 people sitting in the hall, which obviously is not going to be sufficient. So the other, I think it was last week, the chief and I went to the school to look at the auditorium in the school, which is obviously large enough, but the place is a disaster. It's a mess. Some of the toilets aren't working. You know, the chief thought they had 80 chairs there, but we'd still need to bring in tables and rent a sound system. And I've contacted the town to see, you know, who I talk to if it comes to us wanting to use that facility for our annual meeting. But so that's as much as I've done on that. Hopefully they're not going to be requiring the 6 foot distance if everybody is wearing masks. And I know the chief did say to me, if he does have masks available at that time in June, then we could hand them out to people as they're coming into the meeting, the N95 masks. So that's.
Madam Chairman, can I pipe in once in a while?
Sure. What?
I just want to ask, is there any problem postponing it for another month? What would be the complication there?
We just, the only thing that would trigger, as far as I know, is that any expenditures by the treasurer's office would have to be authorized by the state. That's correct, isn't it, right?
I think under the emergency, we would operate on an adjusted 1/12 of the current budget. We'd be authorized to continue expending on that basis. And by adjusted, I mean you take out the one-time expenses for retirement and insurance, and then and debt service, amortize that amount over 12 months, and you spend 1/12 of that in July, plus any one-time expenses scheduled for July. So we could operate with that fairly reasonably.
Okay. So, does that
If I
answer?
may, so what I've heard on my end is that, yes, that's the guidance that they've been giving the municipalities, is basically to try to keep a budget that's 1/12, but that the DOR will work with the municipalities in the event that you go over that, and that over the span, what they're looking is over the span of the year,
Mhm.
your expenditures would be an average of about 112. But for example, 1 month, because they understand the seasonality of the Cape and how we're different, they understand that in the summer times, maybe our expenditures will be higher than a 12th of what our last year's budget was.
Yeah.
But then in the winter time, it may be different, so it'll average out.
Yeah.
But you're correct. That's the guidance that they've kind of been giving municipalities as of right now. But they also said that they would work with treasurers and accountants and things like that
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
work, to deal with the seasonality of our area.
I spoke with the director of accounts, and you're absolutely right. That's the characterization that I got. They understand the problem. They're going to work with you as long as it's good intent. They'll work with you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ray. Thank you, Sylvia. Okay, Sylvia, do you want to do the policy advisory report?
Yes, I actually wish I could. I don't know if I could. Let's see, share a document through here or not. But basically, what I'll do is I'll give a brief summary, and then in the next meeting we can discuss the document in detail. But just in briefly, the policy advisory committee met, I think, 3 or 4 times. We discussed a variety of things that the committee with all the members from all the different committees, fire, water, myself from the Prudential, and then 2 members of the public saw as the pressing needs for policies for the town. And we created a document. It's about a 3-page document. I'm actually looking at it right now. I'm sorry, I wish I shared it with you. But the vast majority of comments are going to be about financial policies. And it goes along the lines of what Jim mentioned before, because we heard it at the last district meeting where residents had a hard time understanding what they were voting on, what the financial consequences were of these votes. And it was not necessarily a commentary on anybody's job or work of what they've done. It's just most people don't understand municipal finance. So just to give you some of the highlights highlights of this document, it's just basically 2 steps. One is the creation of a capital improvement plan. So we want to make a policy of the district to have a written document that outlines a 5-year capital improvement plan that it specifies how things are going to be prioritized based on, whether they are it's something that's going to eliminate a hazard to public health, or it's something that's a requirement by state or federal laws, or it's something that provides a new program to the district and things of that nature. So then also goes into a little bit of detail on proposed capital financing and looking for revenue alternative revenue sources like grants before we try to put things in the capital list, and then a procedure for capital project closeouts, which is similar to what Ray's been doing, if it's of a certain amount or if it's related to a certain type of funding, whether it goes back to paying the bonds or whether it goes back, to, to a stabilization fund or things of that nature. So basically, it'll be more in line with what is already happening. It's just going to be documented. And the second set of policies are just district management plans. And it talks about reviewing the efficacy of the government structure every 5 years, basically like most towns do, a review of their charter, request a yearly review for the operational aspects of the district. And all of these things were in the 21st century governance study that the district did a couple of years ago, but now we're just going to be documenting them so that they're memorialized in district policy. And the last one, again, is just talking about what Jim said, and I'll read it verbatim, is simplify financial statements, expenditure reports, and proposed budgets to assist residents in making educated decisions when reviewing the district's financial information and when voting at the annual district meeting. I think those are things that we heard loud and clear, and hopefully now by having them memorialized in a policy of the district, we can move forward in that direction. So again, I'm sorry I didn't send you the document. I'll send it to you now. And if you can hopefully put us in the next agenda, we can discuss it in more detail, because it seems that it's only myself from the Policy Advisory Committee that's in this meeting anyway. So I don't want to take over the conversation, and I want other members to also have a say.
So, any questions right now? No.
Yeah, Silvio, did you have any suggestions from the committee on what they would like to see in a financial statement? I mean, there's two examples that they might be able to work off of and make suggestions. One is the summary report that I share at the district meetings, and the other is a very detailed report that the system generates. And it kind of gives you two opposite ends of detail, if you will. And while it's easy for me to design something, I always kind of like to see what the folks would like to see, or how they would like to see it.
Yeah. No, I think we didn't get a lot of detail in that. It's just, again, just trying to be as summarized as possible. I think you do a good job with the summary reports. I think it's going to be something along those lines. If we could start with that and go from there, I think that'll be the process. I think it's going to be a dynamic process. I don't think there's going to be one document that immediately is going to work. So I think we're just going to start with that and start getting feedback. But maybe one of the things we could do is the reports we get every month, maybe we can post them on the website, have people review them, and then leave an email address or something saying, if you have any questions, if you don't understand part of this report, please, send us an email, and that'll give us the feedback we need to maybe, I don't know, make it more appealing and more understandable to the layperson. So, because again, you know how difficult it is for finance in general, but municipal finance is its own beast. So I think it serves us all well to have a public that understands how things are happening throughout the year, and then what we're proposing during the district meeting, so that they can make a good educated decision.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Did Lisa, Silvio, did you get a chance to review the minutes for April 7th and April 20th?
I don't think I received them. Did you receive them, Silvio?
Yeah, I got them.
All right, well then, if I got them, I'm sorry, I did not review them.
Okay, well, we can wait.
Can you see when you received those, Silvio? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I
no
just
problem.
need to know if I need to ask Fran to resend them to me.
May 2nd. It's an email that says minutes as the header, and then that's it. It has 2 attachments. And
Oh,
it went to your not fired
agency?
email.
Yeah, okay. Fran, I don't see those, but
Okay, that's all right.
there
I'll
are
send,
days. Could you just forward them to me again?
yep, I will.
Okay, thank you.
So, so our next meeting should be, we'll need to close the warrant at that time. I don't think we have a meeting in between today, and it looks like, Charlie, you can check this for me, but it looks like the 25th of May would be 30 days before the annual meeting, and that's Memorial Day.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't think we can have the meeting that day.
What else are we going to do?
I was going to say, what else are we going to be doing? What a great way to spend your Memorial Day.
Right. No, I live in hope. So what about May 20th? It's a Wednesday?
Yeah, that's fine.
That's not good for me.
Oh, okay. The 21st?
That's fine.
21st works for me.
Is that okay with you, Charlie?
Yes.
Okay. I just, in case anybody wants to make any changes to the warrant, I wanted to get as close to the 30-day limit as possible. So Why don't we do it the 21st at 6 o'clock?
Yep.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're
Thank you.
adjourned. Thank you. all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good rest of the week. Stay
You
safe.
too. Thank you very much.
Stay healthy.
Great.